Hello, ladies and gentlemen of DraftMagic.com. This is Travis Sowers bringing you a Return to Ravnica 8-4. And we have an interesting pack before us because it's really fun to Cyclonic Rift things. Card's pretty much a bomb. Splashable. If you can get to 7 mana, you bounce everything they have and swing in for the win. So that's good. We've also got probably the second best Guild Mage in Karazda Guild Mage, although she goes in kind of the worst deck, so I don't know how interested we are in that. There's also a Sphere of Safety, which I've kind of wanted to do that deck, but I can't really justify first picking it here. And there's an Axebane Guardian if we want to be that guy, but I don't. I think we'll grab the Cyclonic Rift. I would be interested in doing a deck that's something other than kind of your standard Ravnica draft deck, as we're getting a bit towards the end of the format and everybody's ready to draft Gatecrash. But Cyclonic Rift can go into a lot of fun things. One thing it can go into that I haven't managed to pull off yet is the mill deck. So we're going to keep our eyes open for, say, Psychic Spiral, and also be interested to see if that Sphere of Safety wheels. Now, if we want to go straight nuts on it, we can just pick the Doorkeeper here. I don't know how nuts we want to be, though. Because we've got, like, if we want to do a serious deck, we've got Dramatic Rescue, and that's just awesome and should probably be the pick. Because the Doorkeeper is likely to wheel anyway. If it doesn't, then there's no way we'd get into the deck we want to be in. Yeah, let's continue being somewhat intelligent. Again, Ethereal Armor of interest to see if that wheels, because we can do some fun stuff if it does. Here we have an ultimate price, which is really good. Maybe we go to Mirror. I mean, that's got to be a signal that two people looked at this and didn't take it. They took an uncommon and a common. So my guess would be a Vitu-Ghazi Guild Mage. And, I don't know what you take over that. I guess with the picks I have so far, and I'm really interested in trying out a mill deck, I'm going to see if we can force it. Yeah, let's take this Doorkeeper and see if we wheel the others. Void Wielder is probably something we want in that deck. We've got all 2 drops so far. And also a pretty good card. So certainly not a bad thing to see. White is getting somewhat cut. Now we have a Hover Barrier. That goes in the deck. The challenge is it is such a great target for a stab wound that we may have some issues there. But you know what? We've already committed. Let's do this. As I said, we're getting to the end of Return to Ravnica. Let's have some fun with it. This pack kinda sucks. I see the Search Warrant, which disappointed me because I thought it was another Dramatic Rescue and almost got excited. But it's not. Guess I'll take the Judge's Familiar. Has some utility in countering spells, I suppose. I don't really want the Eyes in the Skies. We'll take the Guild Gate. And unless that Sphere of Safety wheels, we kind of don't have a deck. I'm going to take the Paralyzing Grasp, assuming that it will. And Sphere of Safety. Right here. Any minute now. Suspense is killing me. I could pause it and not make you guys watch this, but where's the fun in that? We'll just sit here and babble randomly. All the other picks have been super fast, and now it's going to make me sit here and wait and see if the whole plan for our deck comes together. The idea being grab the Sphere of Safety, grab some Chronic Floodings. Okay, it came back. We are doing it. Another Paralyzing Grasp, absolutely. Why Paralyzing Grasp when it sucks? Because it doesn't suck with Sphere of Safety. What we're doing here is somewhat like building a pillow fort. I believe I read an article by Travis Wu a while back discussing how to do that in Constructed, but you can do it in Limited too. Build up so many enchantments that they just can't attack you, and then mill them to death, ideally with a Psychic Spiral and a couple Chronic Floodings. So we're going to hope to open one of those or get past one of those. The things we're most nervous about in this sort of deck are... Actually, nobody plays Bellows Lizards other than me. We'll just hack the spawn. Like, I'm not opposed to doing the 1-drop deck either. I did that in a draft for Mana Deprived, where I basically went Orzhov with Dryad Militants and Deviant Glee, and it was rather successful. It is a real deck. very draw dependent, and doesn't mulligan particularly well. Pyroconvergence is of interest to me in that it's a build around me card that I haven't built around yet. It doesn't look like we're going that way, but it is an enchantment. I'll hang on to it and we'll see. Skullrend would be pretty bad to have cast on us, and I'll take the search warrant and hide it as fast as I can. It is interesting to note that the other doorkeeper didn't wheel. That doesn't necessarily mean that someone else is trying to do mill. It just means that someone else values having an early blocker in their blue deck, which is not ridiculous. So another sphere of safety, if we can cram that into the deck, we'd be pretty happy. Arrest would be a pretty huge pickup, and as I mentioned, Psychic Spiral is kind of a must if we're actually planning to mill them out, and we should see a Chronic Flooding or two in the draft. You always see one of those. Martial Law, though, isn't bad. It ups our enchantment count. It keeps one of their dudes from doing something. It's got a pretty cool picture. That dude in the red is just really pissed about something. He is just mad. Other than that, we'll probably wheel another Paralyzing Grasp if we want it, and Hussar Patrol wouldn't be bad. We did pass 2 of them in the first pack, and they were rather late, which makes me think we might even get that back if we want it. But yeah, we'll take the Martial Law and just continue gobbling up all the enchantments we can find. Azorius Charm is probably something we want in this deck. We don't have a win condition yet, but it looks like we're kind of not planning on casting creature enchantments. So the Knightly Valor may not be that good. I mean, imagine a Knightly Valor Doorkeeper or Void Wielder. Not exactly happy about that. Precinct Captain either. I think we probably just need the Azorius Charm to stay alive. So we'll grab that. We can also cycle it if it turns out we don't need the effect. But it's kind of our second copy of Dramatic Rescue at the moment. We've got some bounce spells here at 2. Walls start coming down. We could use a few more shields. So Doorkeepers are going to go up. Should we be lucky enough to see another Hover Barrier, we'll grab that. And I don't think we're going to play the Judge's Familiar. And Pyroconvergence, that ship has sailed. Now that I've got the Martial Law, I'm pretty committed to stay the course. I have drafted this deck once, and it actually worked. It kind of surprised me. But it was, again, I think last week. Wasn't recording, but it was kind of one of those, it's late, I'm bored, I've drafted Return to Ravnica way too much, so let's see what kind of fun we can have in the format. Here we have another Doorkeeper. We have an Ethereal Armor. If we did want to get something to suit up our Judge's Familiar, we could make quite a Voltron with that, but I think we're going to need the shields more than anything else. So we will grab the Doorkeeper. Slime Molding, also interesting. I think the person directly next to us is Celestia, so that will be a gift to them, because they seem to have gobbled up all the good white cards. But yeah, we'll take another Doorkeeper. Our doors need keeping. Chronic Flooding is something I'm interested in, but I think I'm more interested in Hover Barrier number 2. Yeah, we need more shields. You guys remind me to grab a Sundering Growth when we see one at an opportune time. Dispel seems good. I'll run at least one of those in the main deck, so we'll take that here. Fencing Ace. Well, if we do get the... if we do manage to wheel that Ethereal Armor, or just pick one up, he could be pretty useful. The other option is the Azorius Keyrune. I don't think we're really planning on winning by damage, and we do want to get the sphere out quickly. So I think I'm going to err on the side of Keyrune. Apparition might also be something we want, though, because again, we're kind of cold to a stab wound on this gentleman here, or really even on the Doorkeeper. But I'm going to take a gamble and take the Keyrune, because that's 100% main deckable. And we will, again, be on the lookout for them when we can grab them, either Apparitions or Sundering Growths. Enchantment count is now up to 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Yeah, we're going to need to grab some more enchantments too for this to work, so we may even have to go with creature enchantments. Avenging Arrow is probably a necessary evil in this deck, and that there's just going to be things we need to kill, and this will kill them. Yeah, we're going to have to pick up a few more enchantments for this to actually work. I think you'd want at least 6 or 7, probably a good deal more than that. So we may even have to take creature enchantments that don't advance our game plan too much, just to avoid not dying. If your sphere of safety comes down and they only have to pay 1 or 2, it's not really all that impressive, whereas if they have to pay a lot, now you're getting some work done. An action injunction versus is it Guildgate? I'm planning on getting past a Thought Flare, but we'll worry about the mana later. I think I'd rather have the injunction to cycle through the deck. Did wield a Paralyzing Grasp, going to take that over the Hussar Patrol here. As aforementioned, we need it to get Sphere of Safety to work. Here we have a Blister Coil Weird, Mizium Skin, Cobble Brute. Nothing I'm really interested in. I could take the Urban Burgeoning just in case we do get the Chronic Flooding thing to work, but I think someone else took that, which kind of surprises me. Downsize is a decent card, usually relegated to the sideboard, but if we're not actually able to pick up any win conditions other than 2 Doorkeepers, these games could go long, and it might be handy to have that. So we need to, in this last pack, pick up more enchantments, and preferably at least one way to kill our opponents other than Doorkeepers. Okay, there's the Chronic Flooding. It's come around pretty late. I'm going to take it here. It does virtually nothing currently, but if a Psychic Spiral is opened, there's a pretty good chance we'll get it. Armory Guard, while not quite a defender, is somebody we'd be happy to play. And someone else can survey the wreckage. We have done quite enough surveying. Okay, so we've got 22. It's sort of playable as it is, but it is missing enchantments. We need more of them. Justiciar is a card I like quite a bit, in that you can use him in like the 1-drop deck. He's terrific. There's another Doorkeeper. We may or may not wheel that. I think since we were just talking about looking for a kill condition, we probably have to take the Soulsworn Spirit and use that as our way to kill someone. Since it's unblockable, it can get through at any point. There's another one, but there's also a Psychic Spiral. Yeah, we're going to have to take that. Probably made a lot more sense to take the Spirit and try to wheel the Spiral, but I really want this to work. So I'm going to give it a shot. Is it Charm? We would probably take, but are not thrilled about. We do at least have an answer to opposing Soulsworn Spirits with the Martial Law. I'm not convinced Crosstown Courier is what this deck is looking for. It can trade with things. Same with the Azorius Arrestor. I think I'll just take the Guildgate. Meh, that can't be right. I guess if we're short on playables, the Arrestor does at least slow people down a little bit. There's another Chronic Flooding. That gets in the deck for sure. Fairy Imposter. What are we going to do with that? We're going to bounce our Void Wielder. We're going to bounce stuff that they've arrested. I'd rather have another inaction injunction to cycle through and get to the key cards. Same here. There's virtually no limit to the number of those that I'll play. Same with Chronic Floodings. Now we've got a deck. This probably looks terrible to you guys, but trust me, it's actually going to be surprisingly playable. We will take a cancel. Yeah, we've actually got some choices to make here. This is pretty exciting. So you can get out of here. That can go to the sideboard. I think we still run 1 Avenging Arrow. May not even need the Soulsworn Spirit as a kill condition. Not with 3 Chronic Floodings, Sphere of Safety, Psychic Spiral. What are the chances we see another Sphere of Safety in this last pack? Pretty slim, apparently. But I will take the Doorkeeper. One thing to remember is this is an instant. You can do it on your opponent's turn. So if you Chronic Flooding, what I'm doing here, just in case you're not familiar with the interaction, and I guess there's people that might not be, is we're going to cast this on our own land, mill ourselves to 0 during our opponent's turn, and cast a Psychic Spiral, which will then mill them to 0. We'll probably do that on their upkeep, so they try to draw their card, fail, and we win. So that's the goal. I think Soulsworn Spirit may be probably better than the Arrestor, because we got plenty to do in the early game. It also makes the deck mostly blue, which I like. I do like having a Dispel and a Cancel in this kind of deck, and I probably don't need the Key Rune. I guess it gives us a blocker. Armory Guard's somewhat unimpressive when we've already got several walls. We did end up running ourselves completely cold to a Stab Wound. I guess that might have been a reason to pick the Fairy Imposter, because as it stands, we're kind of looking to Void Wield whatever they Stab Wound. Another Dramatic Rescue is quite a gift. We'll have to make room for that somewhere. The ramp does at least go well with the Cyclonic Rift. Maybe I only want 2 Injunctions. Nothing really for us here. I guess against, not even against aggro decks, we've got plenty of these inaction Injunctions. I'll just hate a Guildgate. Fall of the Gavel. Not unplayable. I've seen Josh play this card a couple times, and it did good work for him. I don't know that we main deck it, but against a particularly slow matchup, or perhaps another one with lots of counters, we would use that. This is another mill card. It's a particularly bad one, but sure, we'll destroy some evidence. Fairly good art, which I think is unappreciated. Like, I'm not exactly sure what all the ink looking stuff, maybe that's supposed to be smoke. Okay, maybe it's really bad art if I couldn't look at it and just tell that was smoke. Who knows? Could be ink, it could be smoke, be somebody had a really bad fart in there. Batterhorn, sure. If there are horns that need battering, he's the guy for the job. I've still got cuts to make and I'm not sure what to cut. I like all of this early game. The Chronic Flooding kind of makes it tick. We'll have to do another enchantment count, but it's probably easier to wait till we get to deck building to do that. There are so many instances that make our life difficult that we will want Dispel. I don't think we main deck Fall of the Gavel. That still leaves us with 4 cuts. It's going to be a tough build, but should be a fun deck. Let's put in all the playables and then go back and take out what we gotta. Chronic Flooding I like, Doorkeeper I like. We ended up with quite a few of them. The Injunctions I like, though we may cut some number of those. The Grasps we need, Cancel I like, Spiral, Void Wielder, those are all good. Dramatic Rescues and Azorius Charm is also good, and so is the Key Rune. Although our need to ramp is not that high. But let's quickly do an enchantment count to see what we've got for our shields. We've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's probably enough. Although I certainly don't want to cut any enchantments. We've got a lot of ways to bounce stuff and deal with early plays. I think the Arrestor can sit on the sidelines and maybe come in when we have a difficult matchup. I like having an alternate win condition, but this guy, I don't think he does enough for us. I think our main win condition is strong enough that we can cut him. I have a feeling that he's usually going to be the same as an Azorius Arrestor, that the unblockable won't matter. If we had 1 ethereal armor, I might change my mind and run him, as he could be pretty brutal with that, but currently not looking that great. I like having access to Avenging Arrow. I like having all of the Doorkeepers, as that gives us a little extra oomph. And that kind of makes me want to have the Key Rune too, so that we'll have a little extra mana to use with them. We've got 6 spells that are pretty much designed to deal with early aggression. And that may be a bit much. Dramatic Rescue I want to keep, because I mentioned we're pretty cold to a Stab Wound, and that gives us 3 main deck answers to it. Azorius Charm I also like because we can cycle it if we don't need it, which means if I'm going to cut one of these, it's going to be the Inaction Injunction. Do we have to cut Cancel? I don't want to cut Cancel. And really Cyclonic Rift goes like over here, because we want to overload it. Yeah, here it's just about making the deck more consistent. I don't want to cut Cancel, but I think I have to, and I may have to cut Avenging Arrow too. That'll leave us a little cold to people having a big giant monster, but our plan is to stall them long enough that we can either martial law it or Sphere of Safety it. Another thing I would have liked to have in this deck that I do not is an Inspiration, maybe 2, but we do have a little bit of card draw with the Injunctions and the Azorius Charm. So I think I'm good with this. We also don't need a whole lot of white mana, because if you look at it, the deck is predominantly blue. So I think we'll go a little bit heavier on the blue side than the white in our mana base. Let's see what Moto suggests. 412? That's a bit more than I thought. I was thinking more like 9-7, because that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 white sources, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blue sources. The idea being we'd like to get to double white eventually to cast this. And some of our early defensive plays are white. So this seems good to me. I'm going to load this up and see if we can have some wacky fun in round 1. I'll see you guys there.